press a few buttons on my end. All right. Well, thank you all for joining today. My name is Amir. I'll be leading us through the call today. As a reminder, these calls are not a deep dive by any means, but are designed to be easy as we all have busy schedules and to get you the content you need. If you're looking for that deep dive material, please visit our YouTube channel to hear our developers and auditors speak on the Stakehouse protocol. Some expectations, as always, I'll give a brief summary of Stakehouse, lightly touch on how Stakehouse is not a liquid staking protocol, yet enables stakers to have a liquid stake, then discuss what current forms of ETH staking are out there, compare them to Stakehouse, and we will share about some differentiating characteristics of having a personalized liquid stake with Stakehouse, discuss each characteristic briefly, and as always, if you have any questions, please drop them in the general chat. We'll have a section at the end where we can answer your questions. And make it through to the end of the call, please. We'll give some instructions for having a last call for historical user NFTs and give those instructions. And as always, this is not financial advice, so please do your own research when participating with the Stakehouse protocol. With that said, let's get started. Like I just mentioned, to really understand what differentiates Stakehouse derivatives versus other staking options, you have to know the basics of how Stakehouse derivatives, DETH and slot, are derived. This base understanding is foundational for being able to utilize the protocol and its derivatives. So in simple terms, Stakehouse protocol tracks your validator assets, its yields, and ownership on the Ethereum proof of stake network. Stakehouse accomplishes this as a registry modeled smart contract suite. This registry is permissionless and is tooling around the Ethereum deposit contract. This tracking enables Stakehouse to perform efficient accounting and accountability of staked ETH to their associated derivatives, which gives the Stakehouse derivatives an atomic dependency with the underlying asset. This means that anytime the registry can perform redemption from day zero, and this redemption path is publicly verifiable right now, even right now in DevNet. There's not we're not waiting on some market event to happen for that publicly verifiable path. You can find that right now. So anyone holding these Stakehouse derivatives are assured that there is a direct link to your underlying asset. If you have been following our channel, you can get access to DETH right now by just performing a swap. And with that said, Stakehouse is not a liquid staking provider. Stakehouse is tooling around Ethereum staking to make all aspects of ETH staking more efficient and coordinate a new paradigm of ETH staking. So we've made, obviously, all of you kind of recognize your names, participated to create a validator in that registration process to make it as seamless as possible. And with just a few clicks, you can create a validator and have it registered. And so looking at this graphic, here's the basic flow again. You have your 32 ETH. You choose how you want to create your validator keys, whether taking the hour-long process, if you want that to go through the Ethereum CLI, or you can just generate through the Stakehouse UI with a few clicks in a little over a minute. Register your validator, get it, make your deposit with Ethereum deposit contract, and then in that process, you will have to set up your own node, and you have to wait for the consensus layer to be confirmed and activate your validator. Once that process is completed, you're able to now mint your trustless derivatives, multi-chain ETH, DETH, and your liquid validator tokens slot. Oh, there we go. Now, this graphic here you'll see is from a retail perspective. This is not an exhaustive list by any means, but each staking option has its limits when compared with Stakehouse. So we're looking to empower all staking participants, those with more than 32 ETH and those who have less than 32 ETH. So let's go through each one in brief. So solo stakers are Ethereum's most prized participant, right? The more solo stakers, the more decentralized, and we know that, right? But there are multiple value adds Stakehouse provides to a solo staker. Those solo stakers will have, they'll have a liquid stake. They'll have these true derivative assets that can be ported to any chain without a bridge, all while maintaining ownership of their validator and their keys. Also, eventually, a solo staker, if they wanted to, they could create their own Stakehouse and could onboard their own clients, offering them a liquid stake. If you want more on that, please visit our YouTube channel and to figure out, how to set up your staking business in 30 minutes, led by Dapnode. Also, solo stakers are not participating in a validator pool with Stakehouse, but a collective. So their DETH tokens are not diluted by others joining the Stakehouse or yield affected because they're getting, like I said, you have, when you understand that this atomic dependency, this tether is connecting all the pieces, this is yours. So it's not influenced with your DETH tokens. And so next is looking at staking as a service. Some of these are custodial or non-custodial, but pretty much, they take a commission and you have access to, if they're non-custodial, you'll have access to your validator revenues. The downside is, you have limited flexibility and locked liquidity. And of course, we'll look at synthetic staking. And before I kind of talk about synthetic ETH, there seems to be some confusion when defining derivatives versus synthetics in our space. Calling a staking pool, rebasing token a derivative ETH instead of synthetic ETH, in my opinion, feels a little misleading. When in reality, we can see that every ETH staked is performing at a different rate, and pooled staking isn't decentralization; it's actually more centralized. And this has been highlighted more and more in recent months by the Ethereum community and other outlets. And so by the book, derivative ETH needs a one-to-one publicly verifiable method of reconciling, that liquid ETH to an ETH within a particular validator. So with that said, looking at synthetic ETH, you get a liquid stake, and it's really easy to get access to, and you can, use that within the L1 layer. And then lastly, is the exchange staking. Offers a big brand custody option to get your liquid stake, which has very similar to staking as a service, but it's super easy to get access to. And so let's go to our next slide. We'll look at some more differentiators. Getting a little more specific, Stakehouse protocol has key differentiators that make it completely different from a liquid staking protocol. Liquid staking happens, but that's not the main purpose of Stakehouse derivatives. Having that base atomic dependency on the underlying gives many opportunities for crypto participants to trade, build, bundle, compose their stake derivative assets. If you're curious about that, please check out, like I said, check out our YouTube channel for the deep dives on those topics. For the conversation right now, we'll directly compare, multi-chain ETH, DETH on the left, to synthetic ETH. Now, all DETH in circulation is going to be tethered. It's, atomically dependent on the stake validator. And that, once again, you've probably heard me say this already, like 5 or 6 times, this is a publicly verifiable path, right? So I know I'm kind of say that over and over again on these calls, but that is the base foundation. So if you understand that, then you can build that mental model of how to utilize these derivatives best. With synthetic ETH, these environments, they have an SLA with their node operators. So they take your ETH and then give it to a third party, and then those rewards are rebased on your on the synthetic token that's issued, which is obviously at a more of a risk for dilution. Stakehouse has 0 commissions. As we're non-custodial, it is a public benefit infrastructure. Stakehouse is tooling and coordinating ETH staking. And so, obviously, synthetic ETH is taking a commission. Stakehouse derivative assets is one-to-one redemption due to its dependency on the underlying, and it's not a buyback method. Also, when it comes to the yield, DETH, multi-chain ETH yields over 40+% more per ETH than synthetic ETH, and that's due to 1, 0 commissions, and the second part is having that 32 ETH staking reward distributed across 24 DETH. If there's any sort of arbitrage opportunity or price parity loss, Stakehouse stakers can exit the protocol while retaining their ETH, and it's very similar to wrapped ETH price maintenance mechanism. Let's go to our next slide. Now, for these topics, let's say there's a waiting period for ETH stakers. You can simply just buy those derivative tokens on the open market. And like I said above earlier, your price maintenance is similar to wrapped ETH. there's an arbitrage opportunity. You can complete a rage quit and still keep your validator intact on the consensus layer. The Stakehouse protocol does not touch your keys, so you are completely in control of your ETH, your keys, your ETH. You're only interacting. There's no intermediary through this whole process. And DETH has a redeemable path that is currently open right now. If there's any reporting that's needed, you can get all the information you need. It's completely public. And lastly, we'll leave you with a question. Without this redeemability aspect, is synthetic ETH considered security? So these are the kind of the main points of differentiators that separate derivative ETH from all the other staking options, right? So you have the main theme here is that you can port it anywhere, right? It's completely fungible and it's personalized. So when we say personalized, that is literally that connection. So it's like, oh, this 5%, 4% I'm getting on my DETH is attributed to that DETH that you have. And it's not diluted by more and more people buying DETH because your DETH has that single path back to that validator. So that's when we say personalized, that's what we mean by it. All right, we're open to a few questions. Anybody have any questions so far? You can just drop them in the general chat.
I guess I have a question. So, when comparing all of these different staking options, there's centralized, there's liquid staking, all this stuff. Could you speak a little bit more to like how Stakehouse aligns to something like a solo staker compared to like a centralized exchange?
No, yeah, I think that's a good question. So, Stakehouse is trying to empowering solo stakers to help decentralize the network, and so we're making that onboarding super easy. So, if you're a solo staker and you have 32 ETH and you want to stake your 32 ETH, rather than going to a centralized exchange, giving up custody of those assets to have that, you can just simply do it here with a permissionless, trustless way, and you get the added features, benefits of of staking with Stakehouse.
Okay, so it sounds like you're saying it's the solo staking, and the staking through Stakehouse can be one and the same.
Exactly.
Cool. Thank you.
And another thing to mention, having these, staking at any level, holding these DETH, holding multi-chain ETH, and participating in any LP pool, your yield that you're accruing on top of the earnings you're getting in the LP pool, you're still getting that staking reward that's accrued from the validator at stake. So you get multiple opportunities like that. Atomic dependency is not like a piece of string you can take a scissor to. That's kind of method, kind of way I visualize it. But if there's no more questions, I wanted to talk about the special feature that we recently released. It's called the My Save ETH tab. And on this tab, this is where you can find, it tracks all your Save ETH and DETH. Save ETH is, your accounting token, and DETH is the completely fungible token. And so this aggregates your yield of your personal index and compares your personal yield to all indexes that are currently in Stakehouse. And so with this, you can have your own custom name for your index. Right here, this is the Dank Sharding Index. And it goes through, how many assets of each. Now, those numbers could be different depending if you chose not to mint all your DETH, if you didn't want to mint it all. And then on the right, you have some detailed identifiers number of knots, exchange rates, etc. If you want to learn more about those topics, please visit our help center. You can go into the D app. If you go to your profile page, there's a tab right in the middle that says My Index, and this screen will pop up for you. And if any of these things say zero, like the total rewards earned says zero, it's probably because check if your validator is active and confirm and actually participating. And so that's where, if you see a zero, that's where that's coming from.
Is this dashboard only tracking my own DETH?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's tracking your DETH wherever it goes. If you choose to put it on a different chain, go anywhere, LP it, and it's also by this all indexes. It is tracking. It's bundling, aggregating all the DETH and save ETH that has been minted.
So in this case, the total universe, everyone in the stakehouse or staking rate is 3.7, but I'm earning 4.3%.
Yes, that is due to your validator's performance. And so, like I said, your yield is personalized. And so this is coming from the validator that you have staked on the Ethereum network. And this is the yield that, like I said, you're not diluting your yield. And so that's why those numbers are different.
Where is this data coming from? Is it from an Oracle or Chainlink? Where is it? Is it because my validators are in the Beacon chain?
Yeah, I think you answered that question right there. It comes directly from on-chain data. There's nothing off-chain that is feeding these data points. So it's all fed through your it's completely permissionless. Well, this is a really cool feature, you guys. This is just scratching the surface of what's possible with Save ETH and DETH monitoring. And so really excited about this feature, and then also at the bottom, you can withdraw all DETH if you choose to, instead of going one by one by one. This is make things much easier for stakers going forward. And lastly, wanted to share about the mention of an incentive. This will be the last chance to become a historical user and get the historical user NFT. This was open to anyone, even if you already have one. You can check if you have a historical user NFT by going to OpenSea and connecting to the Rinky network. There will be a cap of about 350 participants, so it's first come, first serve. And if you complete the task that I'm about to mention, you'll be eligible for some Genesis rewards. And there will be an announcement as well, but you guys are all first to hear it. So to become a historical user, you're going to have to stake a validator on V2, which is the current form right now. Mint your tokens, withdraw your DETH, add at least 0.5 DETH and 0.5 ETH to the LP pool, and there will be more steps coming as more features are released. So please keep up to date on that. Please keep an eye out on the Discord channel and join calls like this to get the most up-to-date information. And then lastly, I wanted to announce we're going to be hosting our first Twitter space on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So please make sure you make time to join us there. There might be some extra information there that hasn't been shared anywhere else. So hope to see you all there on Tuesday. And thank you so much for joining, and take care.